My name is Maya. I'm 32 years old and living a life I built out of lies. I used to have a husband who loved me, a son who adored me, and a life that looked perfect from the outside. Today, I wake up in a cramped apartment with a daughter whose father disappeared and a custody schedule that lets me see my son only 4 times a month. All of this happened because I thought I could have it all: security, excitement, love, lust without consequences. I met my husband Brett when I was 23. He was a few years older, 30 at the time, solid, reliable, with kind eyes and rough hands from working construction. Brett wasn't flashy. He didn't shower me with gifts or post grand romantic gestures online, but he showed up every day that mattered. We got married after 3 years of dating and had our son Zane 2 years later. Life was simple, steady, and good. But here's the part that stings to admit. I got bored, not with Brett as a person. He was a good husband, better than most. He worked hard, paid the bills, played with Zane every evening, cooked on weekends, fixed up his motorcycle in the garage, and never once raised his voice at me. But something in me began to itch. The routines felt suffocating. Wake up, breakfast, daycare drop-off, commute, work, home, dinner, bedtime, repeat. At work, I sat in a cubicle at an insurance claims office downtown, soul-crushing stuff. Nothing exciting ever happened there until Diego started. Diego Morales was different. He was charming, funny in a way Brett hadn't been in years, and flirty. Married too, with 2 kids, but that didn't stop anything. From the moment he sat across from me, I felt the pull. It started with banter over coffee, inside jokes in the break room, memes during lunch breaks, innocent on the surface. But we both knew, everyone knew. Even my co-workers joked about him being my work husband. And instead of shutting it down, I laughed. I justified it to myself. Brett would understand. We were just talking, but harm could it do? But I was lying to myself. The emotional affair became a physical one faster than I expected. Diego started giving me rides when my car broke down. One ride turned into grabbing drinks after work. Drinks turned into making out in his car behind a strip mall. Then we started meeting at a cheap motel. I told myself I deserved it, that I'd earned some excitement after years of being the responsible wife and mother. The truth is, I was selfish. I had a man at home who would have done anything for me, and I threw it all away because I missed being looked at like I was something desirable. Diego made me feel alive. Brett made me feel safe. I didn't want to choose between the two, so I didn't. I had both. Until I didn't. Diego's wife, Rosa, found our texts, not explicit, but enough. She flipped out, threatened to blow up his life, expose him to their priest, his family, everything. Diego caved, said it was over. Cold, final, just like that. The man who once told me he dreamed about me now wouldn't even look at me. I spiraled. For weeks, I tried calling him, texting, even creating fake accounts to get through. Nothing. He blocked me on everything and quit the job. I went from being his whole world to someone he erased like a typo. Then came the pregnancy. At first I thought the nausea was heartbreak, but 3 pregnancy tests confirmed otherwise. I was pregnant and I knew immediately it wasn't Brett's. We hadn't been intimate in weeks, maybe once in months. The baby had to be Diego's, and he was long gone. I had a choice: confess and watch my marriage fall apart, or lie and try to pass the baby off as Brett's. I chose the lie. I calculated everything: timelines, fake intimacy, acted affectionate, seduced Brett when needed just to blur the dates. When I told him I was pregnant, he smiled, hugged me, told me he was happy. I looked him in the eyes and smiled back. Lied to his face, repeatedly. During the pregnancy, I tried hard to be a better wife. I was attentive, cooked dinners, went to prenatal appointments. Brett was thrilled. So were our families. Everyone saw us as the perfect little family, growing one more. No one suspected a thing. Then came the delivery. Our daughter came into the world with unmistakable features: dark skin, thick black hair, and eyes that screamed Diego. The room went silent. Brett froze. Then he looked at me confused, then horrified. "What the hell, Maya?" he said, loud and clear. The betrayal cracked in his voice like thunder. He walked out of that hospital room and never looked at our daughter again. I tried to spin it. Genetics are weird. Babies look different when they're born, but the truth was written across my daughter's face. Brett demanded a DNA test. I tried to object, said it was hurtful, but he had already spoken to a lawyer. The 2 weeks waiting for results were torture. Brett moved into the guest room, barely speaking to me. Zane kept asking why Daddy wasn't excited anymore. I cried at night, alone with a newborn, dreading the final blow. The results were obvious. Brett wasn't the father. He didn't even look surprised. Just nodded, handed me the paperwork, and said, "You need to tell me everything now." So I did. I told him about Diego, the affair, the lies. I told him Diego bailed, blocked me, moved away. Brett just stared at me with pure disgust. "You let me get excited about a baby that wasn't mine," he said. "You watched me decorate the nursery, talk about names, tell my parents. You lied to my face every single day." I begged. I got down on my knees in the kitchen, sobbing. I told him I was sorry, that I was scared, that I'd make it right. But he wasn't listening anymore. Filed for divorce the next week. Adultery. DNA evidence, hospital records, no chance of saving it. He refused to be listed on the birth certificate. The baby legally had no father. We fought over Zane. He won. Full custody. I got every other weekend. One evening a week, I moved out of our house into a 1-bedroom apartment. Back to work. Back to loneliness. Everyone at the office knew. No one said it, but they looked at me differently now. I tried contacting Diego one last time. Sent him a picture of the baby. Told him he had a daughter. He never responded. I heard later from a mutual friend he moved out of state. Probably in some suburban cul-de-sac, pretending he's a good Catholic father while I deal with the fallout. Now I'm alone. My son calls me mommy but hugs Brett tighter when I drop him off. My daughter doesn't know who her father is, and my own parents look at me with a sadness they try to mask. I destroyed everything, not because I didn't love Brett, or Zane, or the life we had, but because I got bored, because I craved attention, because I lied, and I lost everything because of it.